All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
Welcome back to the Loose Wheels Show. My name is Andrew Hazlett. To the left of me, as always, is Ethan Ignatowski. We are on episode 16 of season 3. And how you doing, Ethan?
Doing good, doing well. We just got back from Blaze Prom not that long ago, so that was enjoyable. Free food, free drinks, good time, I'd say. Solid time.
Yeah.
And happy to be in the studio now.
First show after the Blaze Prom, so we can put that on the show's resume.
Is that resume worthy?
Yeah. Gotta fill a page somehow, so.
All right, dude.
Anyway, let's get into reviews. Ethan, tell me about
And now for last week's race reviews.
the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, the 4th or 5th edition now? My math's right?
Something like that, yeah. But anyway, I think this is the latest into the year that we've had it. Not that, it's crazy late into the year. It's still only the 5th race, but normally when it's been on the calendar, I think it's been like the 2nd or 3rd race.
Mm-hmm.
Not that really affected anything. I know, like with Bahrain, there was the conversation that since it's taking place at a different time, the weather and all that, but that wasn't really a big deal here in Saudi Arabia. It was still hot, as it normally is. So from that side of things, nothing changed. Get into the review though. Gonna talk about qualifying first, actually, because the top of qualifying didn't go the way that one might expect. In large part thanks to Lando Norris crashing out in Q3. He was the fastest on the track and tried to go a little too fast, crashed into a wall, took him out of Q3. He started in 10th. And Oscar Piastri, his teammate, he wasn't even the guy on pole. He started 2nd, Andrew, because Max Verstappen put in an amazing lap to nab pole from him. So, interesting top 2 there. And then Lando being in 10th, he started on hards. Well, I believe it was everyone in front of him started on mediums. George might have started on hards too. I don't honestly remember. But either way, getting into the race, Oscar Piastri had a great launch off the line, Andrew, and he challenged Max into turn 1. And Oscar was at the apex of the first turn first. And by that logic and the ruling that the FIA and F1 and everyone has agreed upon, that makes the corner his. We've already had a discussion on how that doesn't really, that's not great logic.
And
that's a different conversation for a different day though.
No one likes it. That rule has a much fandom for it as Formula E does.
So by the logic and ruling, the corner is his. However, he also kind of pushed Max wide. But it also kind of looked like Max had no intention of making that corner. Like, Oscar ran a wide line. Max ran an even wider line. Kind of looked like he got pushed off, but it's Max, so maybe he was never going to make the corner anyway. It's a tricky situation. Got a lot of people divided. What ended up happening is Max got a 5-second time penalty that he served at his first pit stop because he went off track and gained an advantage by taking first place. If I was in charge, I would have either made them swap positions and had no time penalty, or I would have done nothing, honestly, because it was kind of just a racing thing. Both guys were at fault for different reasons and at fault to varying degrees. I don't love the ruling there. I don't know, because even if Max was never going to, I don't know. I don't know if Max, you can't know, right? Mm-hmm. And it did look like Oscar pushed him wide. So that's kind of why I would have done nothing.
Yeah.
That's not the only crazy thing that happened.
Before we move on,
sure.
I feel like F1 needs to learn from IndyCar is that IndyCar often likes to use the let 1 car, 3 cars, 5 cars, whatever many cars they deem appropriate for penalties instead of time penalties. I feel that F1 needs to do the same thing.
Well, what F1
I feel like
needs to
they
do-
need to implement that more often.
What F1 needs to do is be more consistent, because there have been so many times that during first laps they do nothing. And here, for a first lap move that is honestly, to me, a lot more of a racing incident than other people think, I would have kept it at that. It's a first lap racing thing. You don't need to hand out a penalty for everything. I understand why they did, because it was like a major thing, and from a certain point of view, Max was in the wrong. But I digress. Like I said, though, not the only crazy thing that happened on lap 1. At turn 3, I think it was, Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda made contact to bring out a safety car. In my opinion, total racing incident. Pierre forced himself around the outside of Yuki. It was a really tricky move, a move that probably wasn't going to stick, a move that he probably didn't need to try to attempt. But fair play, right? You're a racing driver. You're going to go for the move if you think you can pull it off. Unfortunately, Yuki understeered right into him. Both cars DNF'd. Pierre was out on the track. Yuki was able to limp back to the pits, but still DNF'd. So that brought out a safety car. On lap 3, the cars go green again. Max caught everyone napping. He got a good gap going into turn 1. Oscar really got caught napping. He almost got overtaken by George, but was able to hold him off. Going to take a jump here to lap 13. There was some action during this time, namely Lando kind of just passing Carlos and tracking down Lewis for P7. On lap 13, though, Lando did get past Lewis going into the final corner, but Lewis, being the smart veteran, he was basically let him pass so that Lewis would have the DRS for the straight. Lewis then nabbed the position back around the outside. Happened twice, Andrew, so smart moves from the veteran there. On lap 15, though, Lando learned his lesson. He waited behind Lewis, and then he got a move done around the outside before T1, ending a nice little battle there. On lap 19, then, Lando got past Kimi Antonelli down the inside of the straight before turn 1. A lot easier of a move than on Lewis. That's just the racing experience of Lewis Hamilton. Even when he's not getting great results in Ferrari yet, you can still see, like, the racecraft hasn't gone anywhere, Andrew. Mm-hmm. On lap 20, Piastri came in to pit for hards, and then on lap 21, Oscar passed Lewis down the inside of turn 23. It was a very brave move on his part, so hats off to him for executing that. I don't think Lewis was expecting it, because you just don't see a lot of attempts to pass there, let alone people pulling it off. At the end of the lap, start of the next lap, Max came in to pit. He served his penalty. Max had great pace. Like, I was talking to you about this a little bit before we hopped on air, Andrew. There's data to back up the claim that Max was the fastest driver during the race. And he was able to build a gap, but it wasn't a big enough gap that he kept the lead after his time penalty, of course, 5 seconds. That is a good chunk of time. And even though he was extremely fast, he wasn't that much faster than Oscar. The gap only really ever got to about like 3 seconds. On lap 25, one of the more funny parts of the race occurred when Fernando Alonso attempted to pass a young driver that he's managing, Gabriel Bortoleto, and Bortoletto's defense was a little too aggressive. They almost came together. That was funny just because of the relationship between the two drivers. I think that there was an interview after the race where Fernando said that he wasn't going to give Bortoleto food on the flight home. So I'm glad that they can joke about it. But yeah, I'm sure behind closed doors, Fernando might have given Gabriel a bit of a stronger worded thoughts, let's say. On lap 35, Lando pitted from the lead, handing the lead to Oscar, and he came out in P5. And then the rest of the race was kind of just the top 5 settling itself. Leclerc passed George around the outside before turn 1 to take P3 on lap 38. A few laps later, on lap 41, Lando did the same thing to George to take P4. And then 9 laps later, Oscar Piastri takes the flag to win the race, and he takes the championship lead for the first time in his career. He is now leading by 10 points over Lando, so not exactly a comfortable lead, but a lead nonetheless. I'm sure he will take it. overall, it was an okay race. Nothing too exciting, but nothing too boring. So, going to give it a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 maybe. I don't like rating races out of 10 if you haven't been able to tell by this point in the season. But it was Piastri, Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris, Russell, Kimi Antonelli, Lewis Hamilton, Carlos Sainz, who got his first points of the year, Alex Albon, and Isaac Hadjar, who is quickly turning me into a big fan of his as your top 10 points scoring drivers. Lando had the fastest lap. No points for that this year, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, that was Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. And normally now, or actually before I would have, talking about F1, you would have reviewed the NASCAR Cup Series race, but there was no race this weekend for Easter.
Yeah, off weekend for the Cup Series. So now they have, doing some math here, give me a minute here, 27 races in 27 weeks by my math.
That is it's a bit of a grueling stretch.
Actually, it's 28 and 28.
Okay,
My math
still.
was a little wrong, but I
Still.
think
The
still.
Xfinity and Truck Series, they raced, though.
Yeah, they raced as usual. I'll just give a quick update on that. They went to Rockingham. A lot of people loved it. Some people were happier than others as Tyler Ankrum got his first win in a very long time on fuel mileage. His first one came on a fuel mileage race in the Truck Series, so interesting there. And then the first driver to cross the line in Xfinity was Jesse Love. He did not get to keep his trophy as he was disqualified after the race.
He said his like trophy case at home has a lock or something like that. He tweeted.
Well, he didn't get to keep all the other rewards with it, and that disqualified due to a technical issue that the team will appeal. And Sammy Smith, your winner for Junior Motorsports. So that's
I picked the wrong Smith in the pick points.
Well, you picked. Actually, your pick of Smith did get you a point.
Sure, but that's not the 5 that what I would have gotten for a win.
All right. Moving into the news.
And now for the news.
NASCAR seeks to amend the counterclaim against 2311 and Front Row, given new information. This is from a Racer.com article from Kelly Crandall, saying that in its motion, NASCAR says that after the deadline for filing its counterclaim, the teams produced more than 200,000 pages of emails,
That is a lot of pages.
texts, memoranda. Those documents.
What?
Memoranda. MEMORANDA. It's like propaganda, but with memo. These documents indisputably confirmed what NASCAR alleged in its counterclaim. 2311, Front Row, and Curtis Polk, one of the co-owners of 2311, knowingly entered illegal agreements with other teams on issues such as fixing the compensation that they received from NASCAR and alleging that compensation would be divided among the co-conspirator teams. It was carried out, as NASCAR alleges, from the paper trail by using Jonathan Marshall of the Race Team Alliance as a conduit. So that's the... And then the article goes on to say that NASCAR continued to outline its involvement by saying that the documents confirm Polk was the ringleader of the conceded effort to set compensation received by the teams, boycott NASCAR events, interfere with NASCAR's negotiations with media partners, and reach unlawful agreements. So, interesting further information from Nascourt.
Per Google, memoranda is a document recording the terms of a contract or other legal details. In a sentence, articles of association must be signed by subscribers to the memorandum.
Yeah. Also,
Interesting.
this is. Yeah. So that's some interesting things. We'll see if Nascourt. We'll have-
Nascourt?
yeah, that's what Twitter's calling it, because you have the Legacy Workwear Court. This. So with that being said, Nascourt. We'll hopefully we'll have further installments down the road discussing that. So Kurt Busch and trying to think of what Corey LaJoie's dad's name off the top of my head. Randy LaJoie joined NASCAR Hall of Fame nominees. So I'll read you the full list now. Kurt for the modern era ballot, which there'll be 2 selected from: Greg Biffle, Neil Bonnet, Tim Brewer, Jeff Burton, Randy Dorton, Harry Gant, Harry Hyde, and Jack Sprague. Those are their joint the 2 new drivers are joining that group of drivers and other related stuff. And then moving into the modern or the Pioneer ballot, where there'll be 1 person selected from: Jake Elder, Ray Hendrick, Banjo Matthews, Larry Phillips, and Bob Welburn. My ballot, because now we have a ballot, I'm already making mine. I go Kurt Busch. I think an obvious choice here. A champion of the sport. All but 1 NASCAR Cup Series champion is in the sport and is in the Hall of Fame. So I think Kurt Busch has the qualifications to be in the Hall of Fame easily. I think his career does have a lot of what ifs. What if Kurt could have channeled his anger better? We might be talking about a multi-time champion instead. And a lot better driver than he was, maybe. I think that's a interesting what if. And then my other one is Tim Brewer. I think multi-time winning, championship winning crew chief. That gets my second vote. Just these other drivers, their resumes don't speak out to me. Is that winning around 20-ish times without a championship, that doesn't do anything for me. And winning multiple championships in lower series doesn't really do anything for me. They weren't the first champions of their series, so they don't have that going for them. They were just multi-time champions. So I don't have anything that says, "Ooh, I want to put these guys in the Hall of Fame." So I kind of say, "Okay, I like the multi-time championship winning crew chief as well." And he did it with 2 different drivers. He won one with Cale Yarborough, won one with Darrell Waltrip. And that was an older Cale Yarborough at that time and a very young Darrell Waltrip at that time. So obviously the guy was talented. And then for my modern era, or the Pioneer ballot rather, I go with Banjo Matthews. Built cars that won over 250 Cup Series races and 3 championships. I think that's Hall of Fame worthy. I do feel that there's more Hall of Fame worthy people in the Pioneer era than the modern era. So I don't know if that's something that might change in the future or not, but just my opinion. We'll see. We'll see what other people say. Something not as happy is Catherine Legg speaking out against death threats received after Rockingham. I know we've talked about having drivers facing death threats on the show before.
It's just crazy. Like, y'all need to stop.
Take a chill pill. This is sports. We're here to have fun.
Yes.
Don't have us take the fun out of sports. I don't know if anyone
It
saw.
is never that serious. Like, never, ever that serious. And people seriously need to take chill pills. Like, you're acting unforgivable over something that at the end of the day, like you said, Andrew, is meant to be fun, like entertainment, like people just taking things way too seriously, and it's just not excusable in any way, shape, or form.
I know in the American Racing Series, this is the third time in the last 3 years that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, the other 2 times were in IndyCar, but that's 3 times too many.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't know if many people are aware what happened this week at Rockingham. I'm going to go over it quickly. Catherine Legg doesn't qualify in the Jordan Anderson car, doesn't have enough owner points because on the final, I want to say 8 or so spots in the Xfinity Series field are decided on who has the most points throughout the year with that car. And that car that she was running was a part-time car. So it's obviously not going to have as much owner points as some of these full-time cars. If the full 38 cars would have been off on speed, she would have been on speed, but that's not how it works. So the team said, okay, we're going to buy your way from this car to another team, Joey Gase team, and had J.J. Yaley make the show. They stepped aside because sponsorship wanted to do that. And this isn't the first time that's happened before. It's happened before in IndyCar in the Indy 500 not too long ago. This is something that happens all the time. I know it's happened within the past 5 years in NASCAR. Not the lower series as well. This is not something really new. Ross Chastain did it to Jeff Green and the Daytona Xfinity race not too long ago. So this is not so. People are already mad about that. And then during the race, she was getting lapped. Car goes to the passes her.
William Sawalich.
No, it was someone else.
No, it wasn't Sawalich.
Someone passes her just fine. And then Sawalich crashes into the back of her because Sawalich wasn't on the bottom, causes them both to wreck. But first of all, she wasn't even the driver that made the mistake. It was William Sawalich. And people are getting mad at Catherine Legg. She's just doing her job. If this was, say, some other back marker like her teammate Greg Van Alst, no one would be mad at Greg Van Alst. People just need to get their heads out of their butts
Let's
enjoy racing.
Let's get so real for a second, Andrew. It's because there are a lot of misogynistic NASCAR fans that are just upset that she is racing in NASCAR. Let's be so for real for a second here. It's like I said earlier, it is inexcusable, but seriously, extremely inexcusable. These so-called fans have no place in the sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She is an extremely talented driver who has proven her speed in a plethora of motorsports,
including the NASCAR Xfinity Series. She's not new to this. She's done this before.
And even if she was the slowest driver out there, that is no excuse for the way that people are acting. Absolutely no excuse.
You didn't even see people going after Mazepin like this in his year in F1, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't as chronically online back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say what the internet reaction really was, but just it doesn't even matter if you're good or bad, anything. The way people are acting, it's acting like clowns of the highest degree.
Mm-hmm. So with that said, the NASCAR fans get the chicken award this week. Singular squeak. That. Moving on is
some more lighthearted. Back to the lighthearted stuff.
Yeah, back. Well, it's kind of sad. Venturini Motorsports selling ARCA program to Nitro
We're just
Motorsports.
skipping the.
Are we? Oh, yeah. Jesse Love joins Beard Motorsports for 2 more Cup races, Texas and Indy.
Andrew, I love that.
I know you do. Here's the thing that surprises me. They're not doing it in the Richard Childress car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't.
That's
I
a little
don't.
surprising.
Yeah, I don't think Austin Hill is doing those races. I could be wrong. I'm checking that real quick. I didn't do that research but yeah. 11 and 22. Yeah, Austin Hill isn't doing those races. So I don't know why they're putting him in the 62 instead of the 33. I guess it's to get the owner points of the 62 up, just in case there is some sort of for Daytona in the fall, because that's probably going to be their next planned race. Just make sure they're not farther back in the standings in case it's a rain effects qualifying, but which I wouldn't even know why they're doing that. They're actually a solid 22 points out of 40th right now. So I guess that's what they're trying to do, but it doesn't really make sense. The 33 car's already 10 points behind 40th, so if they were, and also depend who shows up. So I don't know what, I guess that's what they're trying to do, but it doesn't really make sense to me. But we'll see. We'll see how he does.
Yeah, I just love that he's getting shots. He is very talented. We're seeing it in Xfinity. He's going to be a full-time Cup driver, not in the not too distant future. So glad to see him get reps.
Goal for him right now is just run all the laps. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And then moving over to Venturini Motorsports, selling their ARCA program to Nitro Motorsports, because I know it's ARCA, but I do want to talk about this because it's interesting, because Venturini Motorsports has been kind of one of the heads of the Toyota development pipeline. They've had a number of drivers go through there, including full-time guys like Jesse Love, Corey Heim, Christian Eckes, and part-time guys like Chandler Smith, Harrison Burton's done stuff for them, among others. So the interesting thing is that they've been doing this so long, you figure, oh yeah, they've always been the top Toyota program. But no, Joe Gibbs has always had an ARCA program, and the Cup guys the guys that go to Cup always come through Gibbs. So I wonder how this is going to shake up the complexion of this Gibbs relationship. Maybe this Nitro team might try to eventually get more have guys that go to Cup through them instead of guys like going through Toyota or other places. So that's just kind of an interesting thought. I don't know if anything's going to come of us further. Nitro's in their first year in ARCA. This has kind of been long rumored. Venturini's been, the thing is, Venturini's been a program, a staple of the ARCA Menard series for a very long time, so it's kind of sad to see them go. But at some point you got to sell or to have your son or grandson take over.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, only one piece of Formula One news. Been a slow news week for F1. Honestly, I don't even know if this right here counts as news. But Helmut Marko was talking. I don't remember who he was talking to. I will try to find it. But he was talking to someone, and he named Sebastian Vettel as his replacement, a potential replacement, essentially. I mean, Marco's getting up there in age. He's 81, I want to say. He's not going to be doing this for too much longer. Head of the Red Bull Driver Academy and just big important name in the Red Bull racing world. And he is naming. He name dropped Seb. That's pretty big. He spoke to the German F1 broadcast, motorsport.com, translated it. He said, "I think he would be the ideal successor candidate. It is clear that at some point you can no longer do it, not least because of your age, because those travel efforts are no small thing. Of course, it would be great if a guy like Sebastian could take over. You have the side of the junior program. He's already working with the girls here in the go-karts in Saudi Arabia. On the other side, of course, there's the great strategic leadership of his Formula One team." So, obviously, Seb has the inside and out knowledge of the sport. He is been a big fan of a lot of the young drivers coming up through the ranks, and even guys in F1, younger guys that have been struggling. He's a big supporter of people. He's a big supporter of the future of motorsports. So I think that, honestly, as far as potential replacements go, not only is he kind of like very opposite of the quick trigger and quick temperament of Marko, but I think he would be a great pick to lead the program. It would be a very different direction of the program, but I think it's a direction that it needs to go. Like, we're seeing, I don't want to say in the past few years that we've seen careers get ruined, but we've seen careers get thrown off the rails by Marko's quick trigger.
Yeah, it's been a revolving door.
It's been a revolving door. Guys haven't had time to settle in. They haven't had time to make a name for themselves somewhere before they're being flipped around and thrown around, and things are changing so quickly and seemingly on a whim. And those are conversations that we've had, throughout the years by this point, So I think that Seb would be a calmer head, and if he wants to take the job, I think he's perfect for it. Now, the question is, does he want to take the job? That I don't know. He seems happy in his current relationship with F1, kind of there, kind of not. And I don't know if he would change that, Like, I'm going to relate it to baseball. Like, you see guys who, after they retire, they want to stick around the sport in the sense of being, like an advisor to the front office, but they don't want to be a manager. They don't want to be a pitching coach or a hitting coach. I don't know if Seb wants to be a coach, or if he just wants to be kind of on the outskirts of it all. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting thing to watch, though. So, thought I'd bring it up.
Before we get into previews, we've got a lot of time left, where I'm going to go through in the 3 NASCAR series, three surprises, 3 not so 3 disappointments.
I'll do that for F1 too.
We're a quarter of the way through the NASCAR season already, Ethan.
Yeah.
So, we're going to start negative here. My first disappointment of the year, Shane Van Gisbergen, 34th in the standings, beating Cole Custer and Cody Ware. Those are the only 2 drivers he's beating. He's behind Riley Herbst, Noah Gragson. Those are who he's right behind.
I'm not too surprised, honestly. You say your part, then I'll.
I didn't expect him to run great. The fact that I thought he'd be a top 30 pick. I thought he'd be not so far off of everyone else. His lack of speed on the ovals has shown, and it's been a disappointing year. I don't put the panic button yet. Wouldn't panic, but it's a little concerning at this point. We'll see how he grows.
Yeah. Look, this is his first full-time experience in a Cup Series car at, week in, week out at ovals, right? Now, of course, he did race in the Xfinity Series last year as a full-time driver, but it's not like he did great on the ovals. Obviously, he was okay, but he wasn't lighting the world on fire by any means. And that was against lesser competition, too. And also, a very different car. He's still learning how to drive ovals. He's now being thrown into a car that drives differently around said ovals. I'm not too surprised. He's had, like you said, we're a third of the way through the season, but that's only a third of the way. Fourth of the way through the season. That's only a fourth of the way through his rookie season after, he's probably having to unlearn tricks and certain things from his previous, series that he's raced at, where he has driven cars that are different and on tracks that are very different. So I'm not surprised. I'm also not hitting the panic button yet. I guess you can say it has been disappointing because, sure, look at where he is. I think that's fair to say that it is disappointing. But I don't think it's surprising.
My second...
And I'm saying this as a fan of the guy. I really do like the guy. I'm just not shocked at the learning curve.
My second disappointment of the year is another Trackhouse car, Daniel Suarez. A guy who made the chase playoffs last year, and who was running 20th in the standings regardless.
Yeah. I
thought that Trackhouse might be taking a step up this year as a whole, and Daniel Suarez in a possible make or break year.
Yeah, with a guy like Connor Zilic right on his tail.
Might have he'll step up. He's got to step up the performance at least. But no, he's shown a regression. Ross Chastain is the only Trackhouse car in this thing that's not performing below expected. And Chastain's right at expected. Trackhouse, that concerning so far. I hit the panic mode for Suarez only because a guy like Zilic is in the wings.
There is a lot of pressure behind him.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. And this guy that was really backing him, Pitbull, not involved with that team anymore.
Yep.
You agree?
Yeah, I think it's more so pressure than anything else that it's still relatively early in the season. I don't want to say I'm giving up on the guy, but with all the pressure behind him, he better pick it up quick.
And then I think the guy who's easily had the most disappointing season, Brad Keselowski. 31st in points, Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna name some drivers he's behind. Eric Jones.
Yep.
Ty Dillon.
Yep.
Todd Gilliland.
Yep.
Suarez. Austin Dillon. Carson Hocevar. Zane Smith. Justin Haley. John Hunter Nemechek.
You're just naming the entire grid now.
Those are guys that Keselowski should be easily beating.
Yeah.
Easily.
Mm-hmm.
But he's 31st in the standings. 132 points. He's averaging... I'm trying to do math right now, so bear with me. I want to say 15, 16 points a race.
It's not been great.
That's not anything that's going to get you anywhere. And his teammates have actually been doing very well this year. One of them we're going to hit later is kind of the opposite in the swing. It's clearly not the team being an issue. I know you got a new crew chief this year. That could be part of it.
Still trying
I'm
form that relationship.
I'm putting a huge panic button on Keselowski. Huge.
That's fair. I agree. Because this isn't really anywhere where we've seen him. He's 41. I think that we could expect him to start sliding down the grid, but this isn't sliding down the grid, Andrew. This is jumping from the 5th floor to the 1st floor. He has had a major fall off this year. I don't know how much of a factor certain things like luck are and how much of a factor trying to form that relationship with his new crew chief is, but regardless of anything really, he should be at least like 8 places higher than he really is. At least.
I know
This is a guy who has. He's won it all before. Like, you expect a lot from this guy, even at this stage of his career. You expect him to be a
for
guy,
the playoffs.
Not only a lock, but a guy who has a solid performance in the playoffs. Like, I agree with him being the number one guy of this segment.
Number one surprise for me, or the first surprise, is Bubba Wallace for good. 8th in points. You always hear
cooking this year.
Oh, he's not the greatest guy, bubble playoff guy, but so far he's had a lot of strong runs.
And he's given Tyler Reddick a run for his money.
On one place behind him in the standings, 2 top 5s on the year for Bubba Wallace. I've seen him consistently run a lot better than he's shown. He's got a new crew chief this year, Charles Denike, I believe, and they seem to have hit the ground running, and maybe that's what Bubba needs. That's what has been needing, and I like what I'm seeing out of the 23 camp.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna be, they can keep this up. They're gonna be a threat to go deep. Next surprise is a guy who has won this year, Josh Berry. 17th in the standings, but from where the 21 car was last year and from the way Berry was last year, Ethan, huge jump. There was nothing indicating that this was going to be the case, but it was. So it's a welcome surprise. I think it's good. Always good to see the number 21 close to the front of the grid, and we haven't seen the 21 run this good arguably since Ryan Blaney. I mean, it's either him, Paul Menard, or Matt DiBenedetto. I think we'll know more throughout the year because 9 races is only a certain amount to judge. But he has run well. Ran a lot better.
He has ran a lot better. I think that one win is making him look a lot better. So I want to push back against this just a little bit because outside of that win, he only has 1 top 10. Not driving the best car on the grid, far from it, but still, like in that win, it was a great win at Las Vegas. But I don't know if I would have him as a top 3 good surprise on the year. Maybe he is just because of that win, but I don't know. Just want to say that.
And then my final pick is a guy who I thought, okay, this guy, he's never shown anything. Well, why is he going to show me anything now? But he's clearly figured something out in the RFK car. Ryan Preece, 14th in points, beating Brad Keselowski by a lot. Only 2 positions behind his teammate Chris Buescher. Running a lot better than a lot of people expected him to. Certainly myself. I thought he was going to be a contender for a one and done, getting replaced by Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed if they could have a good year in Xfinity, which neither of them are. Thought maybe this is guy's one and done, but no, he's done well. He's only 1 top 5, but he's also got a stage 1.
And he's been consistent. He's been fairly consistent. A couple of duds in there, but fairly consistent. And his highs have been high. You have to respect that. I mean, if we're talking about a true surprise, totally can get behind this pick from you, Andrew, because looking at his resume, since 2019, with the exception of 2022, he has been a full-time driver in the Cup Series. His best finish in the Cup Series was 23rd 2 years ago. This is not a guy that I would have circled to be top 15 at any stage in the season, and he's doing it. Whatever's going on at RFK, it's working well for him, and he has taken a sizable step forward. Will it continue? Only time will tell, but as of now, he is looking really good.
I'm going to jump to Xfinity trucks, only do 1 each there. Xfinity, it's got a bad disappointment. William Sawalich, guy driving a Joe Gibbs car, 25th in the standings. A Joe Gibbs car. This is a series where maybe there's 15 competitive cars each week for the win, and he is not anywhere near the top 15 in the standings, behind a couple notable drivers. Matt DiBenedetto, who's in a team's first existence on their own. Anthony Alfredo. Parker Retzlaff. Behind those guys, he should be nowhere near these guys. He should be up, like, the floor should be around, like, 16th, 17th in the standings.
This is a guy who won ARCA East, came into Xfinity with a lot of hype, and is last out of all the rookies. It's not. He's not even just been disappointing relative to the field. He's been disappointing against other rookies, and that is. It's definitely a bit of a shock.
And then I'm kind of in between a few guys, but for the good surprise, I'm gonna go with his teammate Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones, in his few years with Junior Motorsports, missed the playoffs in all those years.
Yeah.
I
remember you telling me earlier this year you were out on Brandon Jones.
I was, and like he was, I thought, on the outs of his career. Like, he was given the championship-winning equipment, but clearly wasn't doing anything with it. So why going back to Gibbs? I'm like, maybe that might help him a little bit, but I didn't think he was going to do anything. But he's got a win already this year, 6th in the points, got 3 top 5s. Kind of put himself back to where he was at when he left Gibbs, at that level, possibly. Beating guys like Connor Zilic, Sammy Smith, Sheldon Creed. But that's not what I would have expected out of Brandon Jones. I thought, yeah, maybe he could make the playoffs. I wouldn't rule him out for that because he has shown me that before, but I didn't expect him to be winning again. I didn't think he would be able to just randomly jump 10 or so positions in the standings like he has. That's a good surprise.
Yeah.
And then going over to trucks real quick. I'm going to scroll down real quick because I got to find me something. My disappointment so far, there's a few I could go with. Connor Mosack, Matt Crafton, even Ben Rhodes. But I'm going to go with Rajah Caruth. This is a guy I thought, okay, maybe he's going to break through in that one of those Spire trucks and make a championship level run. Because he made the playoffs last year, didn't make the championship 4. I thought he might be a guy to break into that championship 4. Said he's kind of regressed, 14th in the standings right now, only 1 top 5, where we've seen Cup guys jump in those trucks and dominate.
Look, this is another guy where
I will say before I finish, only 2 spots above his teammate Andres Perez, who ran only a handful of truck starts last year, where Caruth has had a full year already.
Yeah, but look at Caruth. He finished 30th and 29th at Daytona and Atlanta, 2 tracks where anything can happen, both good and bad. Right. Anything can happen. Outside of that, he has had only 1 finish worse than 9th. He's had a 7th, a 22nd, an 8th, a 9th, and a 4th. I want to push back against him having some like sort of real bad season. It's been disappointing a little bit for sure, but those 2 bad races to start the year make it look a lot worse than it is. He has been consistently inside the top 10 if you remove those 2 tracks where, like I said, anything good or bad can happen, and he has outperformed, granted, rookie teammate, but he has outperformed Andres Perez de Lara, who you just compared him to, by a margin wider than what the standings show if you look just one level deeper.
Here's the thing: is that of the guys in the top 15 standings, Kruth has the least amount of stage points. I think that's a big issue why he isn't, as well as some of these other guys. Or if you look just above him, Tanner Gray has 17 more stage points than Kruth. Ben Rhodes 2 positions better. I believe it's a big no. I will 18 more.
Then maybe they need to relook at how they're attacking the stages and things like that, because he's ending up the races in strong positions. Maybe they just need to figure out how they're getting there.
Yeah. What do you have for me, Ethan, for F1?
Are you gonna shout out a guy you like?
Guy I like.
There's a guy that I like that I want to shout out, honestly.
There's a guy. Yeah, I'll shout out. Jake Garcia is my pick.
Okay.
If you had asked me to rank the ThorSport trucks, I would say Majeski, Rhodes, Crafton, and Garcia. With those last, there being a big gap between a size like a step. Rhodes being a step behind Majeski. Crafton, not the driver he once was, being about 2 steps behind Rhodes, and then Garcia on that same level.
Mm-hmm.
Garcia, he stepped up his season after last year being one of the more disappointing years, I would say. Not really finding his feet after his rookie year at McNally, but he's figured it out. Only 4 points behind the defending champion teammate of Majeski. Like I said, 7th in the standings. 2 top 5s, a pole this year. ThorSport, I haven't been the team really this year. So I can say, ooh la la, this team's running well. They've kind of had a disappointing season, but Garcia running well.
Yeah. I don't really have time to go over NASCAR. We do need to move on.
Mm-hmm.
There is one guy that I want to mention very quickly for trucks, though, who has impressed me. Gio Ruggiero, I've been impressed by. He was a guy that I didn't really have circled when I was doing research coming into this year in the trucks. Not a whole lot of time on pavement, at about 18 and a half years old. He finished 3rd in ARCA East last year, but that was really all he's done in the NASCAR ladder, and he's come in and been in front of all the rookies. He has finished top 15 every single race bar one. A few top 10s. I've been impressed with what he's shown early on. I'm going to be watching the rest of his career with some excitement.
I think it's about time for the previews now.
And now for next week's race previews.
We just have Talladega. ARCA is racing with Cletus McFarland and friends.
Oh, yeah.
Xfinity Series, Patrick Emmerling in the 07, Eric Emerald in the 19, Jeffrey Earnhardt in the 24, Jake Garcia in the 29. That's our RSS. Jordan Anderson's 3rd and 4th cars, Catherine Legg 32, Austin Green in the 87. Joey Gase team has himself in the 53, Greg Van Alst in the 35, Cesar Becquerel in the 45 for his team Alpha Prime. 66 is Mason Maggio for Garage 66. And the naval officer, Jesse Iwuji, is back in the 91 car for DGM time. That's partnering with his team. And the last time he was in a race car, he crashed Ty Gibbs under caution. So,
Yikes.
Possibility for some
Chaos.
sort of award this week. But into the pick points.
And now for next week's race picks.
Ethan leads 86 to 77. Guess
You've been
at
catching
58.
up.
I've been
I'll give you
closing the
that.
gap. Going over last week, I got 9 points to Ethan's 8 to the guest 2. Talladega, Austin Hill Invitational Xfinity Series. You and I both going Austin Hill. I don't think we need to explain that pick further.
We do have a new guest, though, who's going a different direction.
Yeah.
We would like to virtually welcome Sean Brennan to the show. Known knower of wheel, friend of
The program.
friend of the program, friend of the what is Eric List's show called? I am blanking
Fuel
right now.
for Thought.
Fuel for Thought. Thank you. He has proven his knowledge of wheel over at Fuel for Thought. Although he is picking Justin Allgaier, so the wheel knowledge might be up for debate.
Yeah. I kind of hinted at earlier how this team's been impressing me. Bubba Wallace, he's when he hasn't had his best seasons, he's always been good at the plate tracks, especially Talladega.
Yeah.
Think he's going to win at the spring race.
I have Kyle Busch. I have him in my playoffs. He's got to pick up a win somewhere, and Talladega really is as good of a spot as any for him. He won there a few years ago. The RCR, when they have been quick in recent memory, it has been at the super speedways. So why not Talladega? He knows how to win there. It's a team that knows how to be fast there. Anything can happen, but I think Kyle Busch has about as good of a shot as anyone else.
Yeah, I guess going with Ryan Blaney, he's good there. I forgot to do my 5 in the Cup Series, tell you the open drivers. Yaley's going to be in the 44, Anthony Alfredo in the 62, BJ McLeod in the 78. 5, I have Denny Hamlin, 2-time winning there. Brad Keselowski, 6-time winner there. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 2-time winner there. Ryan Blaney, 3-time winner there. Bubba Wallace as well, along with Elliott, honorable mentions. Elliott being one of them, 2-time winner there. Along with Kyle Busch, same thing there, 2-time winner, along with Joey Logano, another 2-time winner there, along with Tyler Reddick and Ross Chastain, only single-time winners there. Ethan, do you have anything else to say?
Goodbye. Good luck, Sean, in your first week as a guest, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
All right. Goodbye, all. Have a great week.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, wheel.